Well, good morning. It is Thursday morning. I usually have recorded ahead of this and I posted on Thursday, but today I'm doing it all. So, good morning. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kara. This is a channel I use documenting a 1 year long low buy project. That is to help me keep a tight budget, which is to help me pay off my student loans as fast as possible. But I don't actually talk about budgeting every week. Most of the time, I try to pick a theme or a topic for a month, and I sort of just dive into that for myself. And then at the end of the month, I always share a financial snapshot of how it's going and if I'm making my goals. Um, and so, this month, November, I was kind of assessing my use of social media and if I was going to change any of my current use and maybe try something new, some of the alternatives that we're all hearing about, or what. So it was open ended, there was no result in mind. I just wanted to take some time and think a little more intentionally about it. Um, However, life happens, and this last week I was extremely busy. I ended up um, well, first of all, somebody close to me has COVID, and so I had to go get tested because I had seen that person briefly a few days before they found out they were positive. And thankfully it spanned my weekend, which was sort of convenient. I was tested and it was negative, which I'm really grateful for. And that person who I'm close to is doing okay. They're doing okay. Um, I think they will have like some. They were pretty miserable. They were pretty miserable, but they've started to bounce back. Just very bad cold flu-like symptoms, fatigue and achy. Um, Really bad. It sounded sore throat because when they spoke, oh man, their voice, really bad sore throat. And just lots and lots of fatigue. So I'm hoping that the worst of it might have been over, and it's a matter of running the course. Like it's a matter of just getting better, and that might take a while, but I do think that that person's going to be okay. um, I would say they're having a medium case. I don't think she's ever going to have to be hospitalized. So let's call it medium, maybe medium rare. um, and I hope that she continues to feel better. Meanwhile, other people in her life who have been close with her, members of the household, they're not sick. So, um, I mean, and they're being careful, but they're not sick. So it is very weird how it is hit or miss. And we don't know for sure where she got it. But anyway, so somebody close to me, definitely close to me, has had COVID now, um, and I went and got tested. Mine was negative. But in addition to that, my schedule changed this week, and it's part of why I'm a little extra tired today. We are doing a year-end inventory at the store, and we sort of, because my department is huge and there aren't many of us who work in it, um, we are spreading out that inventory and counting one or two categories um, early in the morning, several mornings a week. So yesterday I was at the store by 6 to do some counting before doors open, and then there's the risk that the inventory is thrown off by customers' purchases, so you try to do it really early ahead of that. I'm thinking about because we're closed on Thanksgiving, but due to the close person in my life who has COVID, our Thanksgiving is extraordinarily up in the air. um, but we're closed on Thanksgiving, and I might go and do a bunch of the inventory myself and not have to do as much of it later. Um, yeah, anyway, so my week has just felt different, of course, um, and so I didn't do quite as much assessing of social media. I didn't use as much social media. Um, and that's also why here we are this morning. I hadn't had time to film until now. Um, and so, anyway, we better just get into what this is about. And I haven't even had a sip of my coffee yet. Let's just have a sip of coffee. Can we just slow down for a second and have a sip of coffee. Thanks. Mm. Oh man, that's good. Yup. I am a carnivore, but I drink coffee and tea. So if you would like to get upset about those plant matters, go ahead, I guess. Oh, that's delicious. um, this coffee is so good, and it is from a roasting house in Coeur d'Alene called Doma Coffee. Maybe they're in Post Falls. But Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls and Hayden are all kind of blurring together into one big blob. They're down there somewhere, which is about 40 minutes, 45 minutes away from where I am. I love their coffee. Mm. This is a light to medium roast, which are my favorites. Mm. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. So let's talk about social media again. Um, I made a list. I made a list of different ones that are both, some are new and some have been around for a long time. And as I mentioned previously, I do use Facebook, and that's the only social media I use. I'm not sure where you put apps like WhatsApp or actually last week, another thing, I recently downloaded House Party because a friend of mine wanted to have their birthday party. It was pretty cute. They had somebody deliver donuts to all of our houses, and then we all logged into House Party at the same time and ate the donuts together. Of course, I didn't eat my donut, but it was really fun. And so I don't know if that counts as like social media because I used it for that party, and honestly, I don't know if I'll ever open that app again. I hid it away in the farthest away file on my phone's screen because I just like that's not part of my life. And anyway, so yeah, okay, there's some apps on my phone, but they're not in high use. They're tucked away in a folder, and I just I don't see myself opening that House Party app back up unless somebody texts and says, "Hey, let's all get online to chat." Um, so I'm just not even going to worry about those. But what I have here on my list are things that are both new and old. Um, and this is kind of just first impression thoughts of them and whether I think I might give them a try or not. Because um, the things that I'm not liking about Facebook are both how contentious it can get, and what's hard for me is that I have friends who will express an opinion and I'll want to talk to them about it. And I know them and I'm engaging in good faith and I just kind of want to say, right, I think that's an amazing point. Or I want to say something like, wow, that is a good point. And I also have thought this about it. Have you thought this about it? And even to good friends, I don't dare do that. And it's not because of my friend. It's because I just know, like, it's very likely that somebody else that they know who doesn't know me, who doesn't know that I know that person really well, will jump on my comment and likely not be as thoughtful because they don't know me. Um, and that's just the thing that I don't like. And I'm wondering if that is less likely in some of these other places or not. It's probably going to happen everywhere because it's kind of in human nature when you don't know somebody very well and when you are separated by so many psychologically impeding things. There's the screen, there's the keyboard, there's the fact that you don't really see a person, you see a little photograph. It's easy to be awful. It's easy to be rude. And that's probably going to be a problem on all mediated relationship places. So all of these are mediated relationships. So that's probably going to be something you run into a little bit everywhere, but gosh, it sure would be cool if there was a place where people were just like, we're not going to behave that way. And I don't know if that's these places. So the ones that I looked at, and what I did was I typed into Google, what is and then named the social media that I had heard of. And I made a point to um, read like the Wikipedia page about that first, and then I read a couple other links, and then I would go to that social media's actual site. And so let's see. I use Facebook. I've talked about that. We're all pretty aware of how Facebook works. I use YouTube. I think I'll probably continue. I don't know if that means weekly posts in the future, but I'll probably keep using YouTube, and I will certainly keep watching it and using it. It's amazing. I really love how you can look up something that you want to know, and you'll find 20 or 30 or more people who want to show you exactly that thing that you want to understand. Um, I'll definitely keep going with YouTube. So then the other ones I looked at, and this is partly because I have a defunct blog that I think in the future I'd like to YouTube less and try to get back to writing more. And I've thought about, for one thing, my blog, I use a free platform, and so it's kind of wonky, and um, and I just don't use it very well. There's lots of features and ways to make my blog unique and beautiful and all the rest, and I just don't really go for it. And it's yet another thing owned by Google, and so between my email that I, of course, use in the world, this YouTube channel, and then my blog, like, Google has quite a profile on me. um, Obviously, they are going to have lots of ways to learn about me, and I don't know how to prevent that, but I have thought about moving my blog. So anyway, I looked at Medium, and Medium, I'm not sure would be any less complicated than my current blog platform. I don't really... Medium sort of looks like an essay contest place because you're writing, and then it will only, like, and then there's readers, of course, people who are logging in to look for and appreciate content. Um, and it seems to be sort of a writing popularity contest, and I don't know if that would be a good effect or a bad effect on my writing. Like, maybe it would inspire me to write more, and maybe there's some competitive edge in me that I don't really know about. That could be. But sometimes competition for something that I care about, but that I'm not doing to win, I'm doing because I love the quality of what I'm doing. Sometimes a competitive arena makes me sort of shrink away, and it just depends on the activity and what my own attitude towards it is. So I'm undecided and leaning towards why bother on Medium. Then the one that I found that I think has a lot of promise and that I do want to try, and I think I will try this. I'm not sure if I'll set it up by the end of the year or if it'll be sort of a fun thing, 2021, make a switch. I like years to have something new going on. So I don't know when I would make a profile and get started, but there's Locals.com. And Locals.com is a place that you can use social media, and I imagine it's very interactive like any of the others, where you can post things and people can get to know you and find you. But there is a place to share like video and blog content and grow a following and really actually get to know someone and learn a lot from them. And I think I might like trying that, where it's not just a short Facebook post or sharing an article, which is all I do on Facebook, but a place where I might actually kind of integrate Facebook-like activity with YouTube channel, with blog, and put it all together and give that a try. That sounds kind of interesting to me. So I'm going to try Locals at some point. Now, it is paid, And I also kind of like that because um, just that tiny barrier to entry, that tiny barrier to entry, to me is worth it to be in a place where we're here to interact and get to know people and learn things that we hadn't thought about before. That is a place I'd like to hang out. So I'm willing to pay for that, especially because paying for that is probably enough of a barrier to entry where people who just want to be, let's say it, dicks, aren't going to be. So let's hope. I'd like to give that a try. Other ones that I looked at, and these are some of the older ones that I just have never used. I looked at Twitter, and I don't think that I will be joining Twitter, and I am glad that I never actually have. Um, I take that back. Let's probably like 12 or more years ago, I was at some kind of conference and they were talking about how important social media would become in our industry, the industry I was in at the time. And I started an account. It was like it was like a workshop at that conference was like, here, let's open a Twitter account. You get all set up. But I do not remember my name, my login, how to do it, nothing. And plus, of course, it's changed a lot since then. Um, and I think Twitter did become important to that industry, but I don't think it was good for it. So I'm glad I never really got into that. And the other one that is long known is Instagram. And this is one where, in spite of the fact that it is owned by Facebook, so I would be, I kind of wish that, I kind of wish that I only gave each corporation one thing, but I'm clearly giving Google a lot, and if I were to open Instagram, I would be giving Facebook more. However, I would like to perhaps start an Instagram and use it only following things in my actual life. And I wonder what it would be like to have a social media that was just what I actually see in my day-to-day life. Like if I followed all of my local friends here who have an Instagram, if I followed the businesses around here that have Instagram, I do wonder what that would be like. And I think it would be a lot of fun because I often learn something cool that happens in Sandpoint after the fact. And I was like, oh, geez, like I never knew there was like a ski gear expo or a whatever. And I don't even necessarily need ski gear, but something like that where, oh, that's cool. Like I've definitely missed out on things happening right here. And I wonder if I could perhaps, with some very intentional use, make Instagram the place where I am less clueless. And I also think that's kind of fun if I was using something so nationwide for something so specific, just to see. So that's an experiment that might also happen. The other ones, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about these actually on Facebook, and I'm seeing them talk about leaving Facebook to go to these social media. And so there are two more. The first one is Miwi, and it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool, and I read its Wikipedia page, and it sounds like one of the early people in Twitter went and was creating this, and it's just been a long, slow getting off the ground, and so people are finally kind of just hearing about it because they are interested in alternatives. But I don't know if I'm going to do it. Like, MeWe looks pretty good, and they're saying all the right things on their website about privacy and about, being an alternative and all the different ways they have made it so you can curate your experience. And then right down at the bottom, there's a Twitter logo. Like right at the bottom of their main page, there's a Twitter logo. So I'm not sure that's not connected to the deepest shit show ever in some way. And it wasn't compelling enough for me to pick up and move Because as I thought about, am I really going to leave Facebook? I realized, no, I'm not really going to leave Facebook because of the family connections, of the enormous amount of relationships I have on it. And as fraught as some of them are, or as um, delicately as I ever comment, maybe to certain people, knowing that their friends might be different, um, I do still find it pretty useful. So I'm probably going to stay on Facebook. I will probably try to limit my use even more. Um, so I'm not looking to actually leave. So I'm not actually thinking about it the way some of these folks who are talking about Miwi are, where they're like, I'm leaving Facebook and I'm going to go do this instead. I don't think there's enough of the people I know who are going to do that to make getting there worth it. That's kind of a sad fact. There's like inertia in my social network where this is where they all are. If I want to stay connected to them, this is where they all are. um, so that is what it is. The other, and so I won't be joining Miwi or looking much further. And the last one that everybody is talking about is Parler. And Parler on Wikipedia, first of all, Wikipedia was kind of harsh on it, um, labeling it and judging it. It's conservative, it's conservative, it's conservative, it's full of alt-right, it's full of conspiracy theorists. Well, maybe it is. um, but just tell me what it is, and I can go decide what I find there. Anyway, Parler is another social media app. I don't know exactly what its layout would be inside. I'm not going to start an account, but it does bill itself as a place where your content will not be, for one thing, it doesn't sound like they have fact checkers. It doesn't sound like they flag anything. It sounds like a place where you can say and act in a lot of ways where Facebook tends to put a damper on it. Now, I think that this is actually very important, and I wish there was some, like, I don't know the answer. Let's just say that. I don't know the answer. But if Facebook is going to fact check, if Facebook is going to close down groups, if Facebook is going to just be working behind the scenes to hide from view things, and then that it seems like, and it's hard to find examples of them closing down really progressive stuff, but you can find a lot of examples of them kind of closing down on things that are more conservative. If the main social square, the digital social square in the United States, is mostly Facebook and Twitter, it's just what has grown the most, and that's where most people using social media are. So that is our, let's call it a digital public square. If you can't say certain things there, or even discuss them, or even get close to them, it doesn't make it just stop. It makes, it's like repressed emotions. Like, you might push away feelings of grief, but you're gonna eat 6 cans of popcorn where no one's looking, and you're gonna maybe drink too much where you're alone. Like, repressed stuff has to get expressed somewhere. And I think it's the same for a society. If we can't talk about everything, freely, and just imagine if we could talk about everything freely, we would find out a lot faster what is a bad idea. I believe that. So maybe I'm one of these, what they call a free speech absolutist. If we could talk about anything, we would find out what is a bad idea much faster. And if people still wanted to go for those bad ideas, everybody would be able to evaluate and see, like, oh, they are still going to think a bad thing. They are still going to follow an idea that is wrong or proven to not work very well, damn, good luck with that. But if you're not allowed to talk about it, the people who find that idea initially compelling for whatever reason, they get to have like a persecuted complex, and they get to think that they're righteous, and they're going to go somewhere else, and like it's going to fester. And that's not good for us. That's like what's happening. And so for Facebook to squash a lot of content, for Twitter to squash a lot of content, and I know YouTube does this too, they're going to go somewhere else, and it's going to just fester, and it's going to take everybody by surprise later. Oh, where did this come from? Well, it came from all the places that people had to go hide because you couldn't let them just talk. You've got to freak out less and let some ugly discussions happen, and then less ugly things will actually happen. So I very much am in favor of free speech, and I wish it was a little easier to find on social media. But I actually don't want to go over to Parler, especially because if it's already a place identified as, you know, this is a festering hole of crap, I don't really want to contribute to polarization by going and like putting any more data in that, and just I don't want there to be one more person there. I wish everybody could be in one place, or that at least in that one place every kind of idea could be expressed. I understand why people might feel persecuted. I understand why people might feel like if I say the wrong thing, my page will get taken down. If I say the wrong thing, my channel will be demonetized. Like, that is happening, and that is not okay. Because if it were all available, and there are crazy people on YouTube. Like, I've gone down rabbit holes until I get to the place where they're talking about the earth is flat. Like, there are crazy people. But I think you kind of need to have that whole spectrum present, and just kind of like let those people talk and show everyone how dumb they are. And then everybody knows how dumb they are. But if you take away their channel, there's this allure of like, ooh, now it's forbidden fruit. Now there might have been something going on, and somebody else very powerful doesn't want me to know that. It becomes compelling because you took it away. That's what the social media, I guess, what are they? The monitors, the people who try to regulate the content somewhat, they don't understand that by shutting something down, they make it alluring, and it gives it a credibility, not based in reality, but it gives it a cred that it shouldn't have. If we could talk about it all, it could all come to light. I do really believe that. So anyway, all of this is to say I won't join Parler. I believe in free speech, but I don't really feel like, it just feels like diving into a street fight, and like, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to do that. I think I would rather be, I just don't need that. I just don't need that. So these are the ones that I've thought about. I know there are probably many more alternatives. I will probably try Instagram at some point and keep it locally oriented, see what that's like. And I'm very certain that I will try Localscom. And if I do that and I'm still actually giving any kind of YouTube updates, I'll talk about it. I will share what I experienced there. And that's also some of my thoughts on how these things might try to regulate less and get better results. We'll see. That's a pretty radical idea. Regulate less and get better results. I don't know. So anyway, the day is getting on. I'm going to have to go to work soon. I've got to drink this coffee before it gets any colder. Thanks for being here, and I will see you in a week.